The island of Redfall is covered in cultists, bellwether, and vampires, and I mean, there are a lot of vampires. To help you stop the Vampocolypse on Redfall, here are my tips and tricks to get you and your friends started in Redfall. Let's go. Thanks Bethesda for sponsoring this video. Put your own tips and tricks in the comments down below so we can all help each other out. Let's start with surviving the Vampocolypse. So before you leave a safe house or the fire station, I highly recommend to stock up on ammo, but also on lockpicks and rewire kits. These lockpicks and rewire kits are hugely useful out in the world, not only to get yourself into houses, but also into safes and chests that have weapon drops that are highly useful to increase your overall arsenal. When you are out completing those quests in the world, try to find the safe house in each region. It's a great safety blanket to fall back on because you can pull vampires into the UV beam, but also as a fast travel point and a restock point for your rewire and lockpick kits. If you're wondering where these safe houses are, as they're not initially marked on the map, when you fast travel anywhere and you pull up the map, those little dots that have like named locations, that's actually where the safe houses are. So if you pull up that map when you try and fast travel, just pay attention to where they are and go into that general area. And it's not only just safe houses that don't show up on the map. Basically every location doesn't until you get close to it. So it will be worth bringing up your map and marking where you want to go if you don't want to get lost, or you could just explore and pay attention to the environment as well. And you will often find when you're on main missions, notes and other information that'll give you clues about different ways that you can complete that objective. So pay attention to the environment and the notes that you find throughout the world. Don't waste those lockpicks and rewire kits on doors. In like 9 times out of 10, there is an alternate way to get into houses or other areas without having to waste that lockpick. There is often a window you can break, or even just a window you can climb through. So try to see if you can get in a different way before you actually use up that lockpick. Grave locks will be found throughout the world, and they do make a little sound if you are close to one, so pay attention when you hear that. These give you a little tidbit of story, but they also give you a passive buff depending on how many you have collected, so make sure you're collecting these throughout the world. This next part is a tiny little bit of a spoiler, so just a bit of a warning there, but I do think it is critical for you to know this. After you have beaten the first vampire god, you will be asked to leave the Redfall Commons, and you cannot return, so make sure that you have cleared everything in this region. Any side quests or other objectives and exploration that you want to do, make sure you have completed that before you decide to start that quest to the other side and leave the area. If you're looting a car, make sure you check if it has a car alarm that you can disable, and these red fume generators can be destroyed with UV beams by petrifying them and then punching them so you can get rid of the red smoke in the area so you can traverse it. Each one of the 4 unique characters not only has unique abilities, but they also have skills, and picking the right hero can be hard, and I'll link my guide here to break down all of the heroes and their skills, but that skill investment is probably the most interesting part. Now, I would recommend to focus on one of the 3 abilities for your skills to get the stronger skills at the end of the line quicker. For example, I was playing as Jacob, so I focused on the Raven line so that I get skills that increase my damage on marked enemies, as well as allow my Raven to stake vampires for me from range. You should also pick up the skills to increase your ammo count, as ammo is hugely critical to surviving in Redfall, but don't worry if you've made the wrong skill decision, as you can reset your skills if you're not sure, or even you want to just try different skills as well. And if you're playing in co-op, grab the co-op skills so that you can give buffs to your allies as well. In co-op, you will also gain a trust element to the co-op partners that you're playing with. This will change some of the dialogue between your characters as they interact, and you'll see that trust strengthened meter pop up every now and again as you complete objectives throughout the world. And pay attention to those dialogue conversations, as they will actually noticeably change from being a little more standoffish to much more friendly and casual. Upgrading your gear is very important for your survival. Now, weapons have rarity ranging from grey all the way to legendary. Obviously, the legendary gear here is the ones that you want to look out for, but don't sleep on epics, as you can find plenty of good epics throughout the world. The best place to find gear I've found is typically from vampire nests. Now, vampire nests will appear on the map, and they have a radius around them that when vampires are inside this radius, they are significantly stronger. So it's worthwhile taking these out to prevent that from happening, so you can explore freely, and that nest radius will actually grow the longer the nest is up. Vampire nests will also have different modifiers that will affect the vampires that you'll find in there, or different effects like fire on the ground. So pay attention to that little pop-up when you do enter a vampire nest so you can plan accordingly for that nest itself. Now, once you have destroyed the heart in the center, the heart chambers will open. You'll be able to enter them and get a roll of different weapons from the caches caches that are inside those areas. So you'll get a ton of weapons very quickly, but just make sure that you leave the vampire nest in time before that timer runs down, as you get more experience for leaving the nest successfully. I also wouldn't be buying any weapons from the armorer at the fire station or wherever, because for the most part you'll find better weapons out in the world, and you don't want to waste those resources buying weapons that you're going to replace pretty easily. Also, summoning the rook is often a great way to get a legendary weapon, as you will typically get a legendary from the rook once you fill up that threat meter by completing any missions or destroying special vampires. You will fill up that meter and summon the rook, and after defeating him you can get a legendary drop. Pay attention to the weapon stats and passives on the weapons that you find. Just because it has a slightly higher level doesn't necessarily mean it's better than a piece of gear you already have. For example, with Jacob, I am paying attention to sniper rifles that have a 50% extra headshot damage, as I mostly want a headshot with my sniper. So if a sniper may have slightly more damage but doesn't have that effect, I'm probably not going to use it compared to the one I've already got. Once you have cleared safe houses as well, the lost and found vendor can give you high quality weapons and remnants, so keep an eye on that. And speaking of those remnants are like trinkets that give you passive buffs. The blood remnant is hugely important to increase your overall health capacity, as well as give some interesting passives. Like I have a legendary one that does a UV pulse when my health is low, which will petrify vampires for me to easily kill them. The vampire god remnants are another passive that unlocks when you defeat vampire gods. These are a little bit more situational, but they do have interesting effects. You will need some combat tips to defeat those vampire gods and the vampires themselves. The first thing to think about is staking vampires. Now, to actually defeat vampires, you will need to stake them. This is mostly done in melee range by using your melee button. However, there are other ways to defeat vampires. The UV beam can petrify them so you can punch them to death. The stake launcher can launch stakes at them from range. This is really important for a long range character like Jacob, where if I may want to stealth from range and defeat vampires without having to get too close. Or some weapons can have unique passives that can also do this without having to actually get close and stake them. Weapons also have an effective range. For example, a pistol will do less damage at long range than close range. For almost every encounter you come across in the game, I highly recommend planning your plan of attack rather than just running in and trying to John Wick your way through it. Encounters are often intelligently designed around having environmental effects on the ground that you can activate, as well as having enemy placement that you might need to think of critically, such as snipers in the distance or things to pay attention to. So find out where the enemies are, what they're doing, plan your attack, as I've often died when I haven't actually planned what I was trying to do. There are also a number of vampire types that all have unique effects and ways to deal with them. If you're not sure about what a vampire does, you can check it in the archive to learn more about that vampire type, as well as how to deal with it, and there's plenty of other useful information in the archive as well that you can read at your own perusal. You can also change the difficulty if things are too hard or too easy. There is also a harder difficulty that unlocks once you have completed the main story, and if you want to look fresh, make sure you change the customization on your gear and on your character in the menu here, as there's plenty of skins for stakes as well as outfits that you can collect throughout the world that you'll occasionally get from opening chests as well as from quest rewards. Let me know your own tips in the comments down below. Thank you guys for watching this video till the end. Thank you to our members for supporting the channel. My name is Norza, and I hope you have a great day.